What is going on, guys? Today we are looking at the best meta keepers in FC24 and see what the list is saying right now. Coming in as probably now the last week that he's ever, or last month that he's ever going to be in here. Giroud is still a very nostalgic player that you can go with. 3-star. He has obviously gone from a striker to a goalkeeper, but now he does have a flashback out as well. So I can imagine he's going to be used less and less, really. But I thought it's one last one just to remind you that Giroud is actually a keeper and it didn't take Shapeshifter to get. We then move into Oblak, and I must admit the downgrade from Oblak this year has really tainted everything with him, to be honest. I barely ever see him. I'm still waiting on the first goalkeeper to have a Playstyle Plus. Whether we actually see that this side of Christmas is probably very, very unlikely now. But I think Oblak is still one of them ones that you could definitely still get away with. Most keepers, I think it all comes down to what you actually want out your keeper and naturally just who works better. But Oblak is there. Trap is probably about the same. The only thing I do like with Trap and a lot of the goalkeepers we have had that are specials, there is a few that I've just left out from, for instance, the player of the month for Liga 1 that are just, and Lecker. There's just no point having all of them in as they're good for an SBC and very cheap, but realistically when it comes down to it, they're going to be fodder before too long. We then go into Kobel, probably, I think, yeah, Kobel and Neuer, to be honest. The two Bundesliga keepers, both of them relatively nice statted, both 87, which is always nice, and very, very cheap. But realistically, they don't offer the best of the best, in my opinion. They're kind of your mid-tier, unless you are just rocking a Bundesliga team. Then obviously you've got the choice between 3 Bundesliga keepers. And I would say I'd probably just go for the special in this sort of one, if you did manage to do him, just purely on the fact he is a special card. I'd rather that than a gold card. We then go into Mignan, and this is where the list really kind of starts going the better way, in my opinion, because when it comes to all the keepers before, you got Neuer, Kobel, Trapp, Oblak, and Giroud, they are on the bottom end. Whereas I think Mignan, it's a shame he didn't get another rating upgrade, but if he does manage to get a team of the season this year, or at least a bigger jump compared to previous year, then obviously he is going to be the Seria A #1. I think he still is battling against Szczesny, or I think he's one ahead of Szczesny at the minute. I think Szczesny's 86, I want to say. But in terms of the Serie A, he is the #1, and I always like him. He has the links for French and also then for Serie A, which is always nice. We then have Donnarumma, beautiful keeper, one of my fan favourites, especially for how much he is priced. Currently coming in at 16,000 coins, literally no problem with him. 6'5", has the Mbappe link. Unfortunately doesn't have the Neymar or Messi link anymore, but then obviously links to Diana, to the left back Sakina, I want to say her name is. I can't pronounce her last name, but you know what I mean. So I think for me, he is a #1 shout when it comes to a Liga 1 / Italian. There's going to be a few Italians that you can go with there, and I can imagine a lot of people are finding goalkeepers a lot easier to link through, even if you don't say have any Italians or any PSG players, as a lot of people have got icons now. FC24 is here, and Sky Coach has all your needs covered. From squad battles, champs, qualifications, and even now draft boosting, there is a long list of services they do give, as well as coaching, and also the big one everybody wants in FC24 coins. This service is fast and reliable, and you will get your coins, your boosting services, or obviously coaching in a matter of hours. If you do want to get any of these, make sure you head over to skycoach.gg, go onto the website, and when you go to checkout, make sure that you are using the code JT11 at checkout for your 5% off your orders. And if you'd prefer to do this on mobile, check out the screen right now with the QR code for their mobile app. We then move into Dudek. One of the ones that I've definitely changed my opinion on this year, much better this year. And again, with keepers, it very rarely changes, to be fair. He was slated last year. Campos is still not making the list, don't worry about that. But Dudek definitely is a little bit better off this year. Unfortunately, doesn't have no playstyle at all, which is just crazy to think that he didn't have anything, but he still does better than what I had seen in previous years. So a big up for him, and hopefully we do see an upgrade on these, and a bigger upgrade than what we can kind of anticipate. We then move into Edison, and I think Edison, Alisson together are cracked. Absolutely love both of them. Edison at 25, Alisson at 39, purely on the fact one is 88 and one is 89, which is crazy to think. Edison got the treble this year, and yet Alisson didn't, and yet ratings, but I get what they're saying. Alisson definitely is considered the better keeper. Let me know down below who you think the better keeper is, but in terms of kind of the ratings on FIFA, there isn't too much between them. We've got a bit more kicking obviously on Ederson, whereas everything else positioning wise is the Alisson trait. Both of them have relatively decent kind of play styles. Again, Ederson does have the long ball pass, which is just nuts in itself, but it still isn't a play style plus. Then we move over to the 290s. We have ter Stegen in form, and then we also have Courtois. Now, Courtois is a new fan favourite in my club. We've just managed to get him untradeable. We've had him tradable prior, but he is now untradeable at 57,000. Ter Stegen coming in at 72,000, but obviously that is going to be a big increase in price purely on the fact that we did have Mbappe needing 11 Team of the Weeks in 5 SBCs or 6 SBCs. So in terms of him, I do think ter Stegen is still very, very nice. Always like the inform. We like a dynamic on a keeper, so that's always an extra bonus on top. But I do think for me, Courtois is your man. Naturally, one of the, if not the best goalkeeper that is gold for the past X amount of years. He's tall, he's got the stats, he's the highest rated gold goalkeeper you can get, and naturally we should see a progression for him throughout this game. Whether we see the team of the season as always, or we get... I don't think he's done enough for team of the year. I think that... I don't even know who that could go to, because Martinez technically won the Ballon d'Or for keepers. Whether we see him as team of the year, it would be an interesting one. It'd definitely be a random one out of the blue, but it'll be interesting nonetheless, as the team of the year keeper is normally the one to go for and the one everybody ends up getting. And then we have the final few players. We have Cech, Schmeichel, and also Casillas. I feel like these are more better if you've packed them rather than necessarily go and buying them. Cech's coming in at 163, Schmeichel's 180, and Casillas is 220. I'm not like a massive fan of buying players anyway, just because EA are running down the full route of untradeable. I'd rather keep my coins and test players out doing reviews rather than necessarily buying and committing to somebody, because we could have bought Cech. I bet you we could have bought him like 2 months ago, a month and a half ago. He was coming in, to be fair, not a bad example. He was coming in at 340. If I just held him out, there was a point where he went down to like 280 and then went back up to 340. And then he did have a little bit of a peak on the 15th of November at 264. And then he just plummeted, mainly because of the icon SBC, but naturally now we've got the double icon packs. We have an icon pack with 60 players. More than likely we get a max 89 base hero, base SBC again, so naturally you will lose price. Casillas is probably the only one that isn't affected from that, bar from the icon and 60 players. That is a max of 90 rated, so there might be a slight movement on him at some point, so it will be interesting to see as we go further into that, especially into the Black Friday panic. We then have Yashin, the second priced and well, technically the highest rated keeper at the moment, but the second highest price keeper, coming in at 92 rated at 410,000. It's a big price for a keeper, and personally, again, I would much rather go for an untradeable Yashin, get him from an SBC or what have you, and be okay with that, rather than spend the coins and lose massive on him. I'd rather go and do a striker if I'm going to be honest with that. But my favourite keeper has got to be Van der Sar. Naturally, he's always been incredible, and even though the stats, to be honest, don't look that appealing, nothing on the kick-in, speed is absolutely in the mud in comparison to someone like Yashin, but in terms of actual keeping ability, he's the best. He naturally always will be. It's why he's 430,000 coins at the moment. Still the highest price goalkeeper on the game, and naturally the one that everybody wants. And he is coming in as a Thunderstruck promo. So we'll see how that one goes. Make sure you like and subscribe on this, and let me know what keeper are you running in FC24. Take care. Peace.